Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of We Can Fight Like Cats If We Have to. Not so much an episode today, just kind of like a commentary, I guess. You have Natasha enjoying a snack. You have Allon focused in the zone doing some studying. And you have me cold and cold-hearted in my warm Christmas robe because, hey, winter's coming. How's everybody tonight? Winter's here. Yeah. No.
Well, maybe not, but it was chilly. It was chilly.
Yeah, it was chilly.
Yeah, it was chilly too.
It was also the first official day, National Day of Reconciliation, if we can actually call it that, in my opinion. So I'm going to say something that is probably going to get some criticism, which is that I understand the message and the concept behind the orange shirt and that student who had her orange shirt taken away and wasn't allowed to wear it again. But I refused myself as a mother, as a consumer, to use that as a reason to purposely go out and buy my children orange shirts made by colonizers or orange dye made by representation of colonialism and capitalism, and exploit the culture even further. I understand that there are Indigenous options out there, and I really did look. They were only available in adult sizes. I could not obtain anything for my 2 and 5-year-old. So we decided to stick to the shirts that we had, that had a little bit of orange in them, which is better than nothing, to honor the symbolism of the orange shirt. And I messaged the school and I said, I understand that, this is supposed to be in solidarity with Indigenous nations. However, I will not use my dollar to support the oppressors of Indigenous nations. And I told her, please, understand and respect that Zebra will not be wearing a fully orange shirt today. And it is not that I do not appreciate the concept behind the orange shirt, but I could not respect or actively engage and participate in further assault of the Indigenous population by turning essentially their suffering into, I don't know, a profitable opportunity for colonial culture. That was kind of my take on today. That was my first step to my day of reconciliation. What did you guys think of today? Like, did you notice anything? Did you watch any of the specials on TV or listen to the specials on the radio, or did anything resonate with you?
I will let Natasha go first because I know she's enjoying her snack. All right, I'll let you enjoy your snack. Enjoy your snack. Okay. I did not look or listen to any of the news events or radio events or specials or whatever was happening. That was intentional. I just am not. I'm not co-signing this holiday.
Gravy, because it's gravy.
I just don't. Yeah, I just don't. I just don't see how this is supposed to. And I think I don't co-sign it because it's not being done correctly. Right, it's not being done correctly, and I mean, we still have, we have a federal mandate or a federal, I guess, action where the Canadian flag is supposed to be flying at half staff until this whole thing is resolved or they come to some sort of agreement with the First Nations as far as how they want to move forward. And you still have businesses left, right, and center not dropping their flags to half staff.
You have cities not dropping their flags to
right. So I mean, so
and villages and towns.
Right. So you still have that going on. So if that's not even being honored, that's a federal mandate. Yeah. What is this day of reconciliation supposed to really mean to those same people who can't even follow a federal mandate? And the fact that, instead of you doing radio events and being like, there should be a lot more done. And I think that reconciliation is a lot more than just a day. Yeah. It's about education. It's about mending burned bridges. It's about acknowledgement. It's about taking responsibility as a nation. It's about, reprimanding and rebuking and putting to task the Catholic Church and the individuals who were involved in these residential schools, whether it be staff, whether it be headmasters, whether it be clergy, whether it be, fucking maintenance. I don't care who the fuck you were, because when it comes to the sex scandals, they go after everyone in the fucking dog that was involved. So the same needs to happen here. You have $1 million judgments going out, still with the sexual assault cases going on in the Catholic Church. And I haven't heard about any dollar amounts being paid out yet, for this reconciliation and for these residential school atrocities.
I'm going to interrupt you on that point for 1 second. There's even money being invested of taxpayers' dollars to go in the courts to fight Indigenous people from obtaining money to reconcile for their suffering. So it's even worse than not just giving them money. Actually taking the money that we could be giving them and investing it into policing systems and court systems that essentially have gone against actual reconciliation by the definition of reconciliation. So it's sorry to cut you off, but I wanted to clarify this point because some of our listeners are not aware of this. And if you truly want to be a part of reconciliation, holding a flag half-mast, listening to news report gravy is not how you're going to do it. Sorry I cut you off, Allon. Go ahead.
No, that's a very valid
really
point.
had to add that point.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because that just lends to my point of view, which is just this country is doing nothing but things for pomp and circumstance.
Exactly.
In a very monarchical type of way. This is not how you behave, and this is not what you do when you find out that your country is responsible for the deaths and the destruction of an entire race of people's lives. Like, this is, and the thing with Canada is we constantly scoff at other countries about how bad they are and what they do in true North American form. We scoff at the US, we scoff at different countries around the world and say, oh, how dare they? How could they? We don't understand how that could happen. That would never happen here. And yet, and still it's happening, and it has happened up until the 20th century. So no, I didn't watch anything on TV. I didn't bother listening to the radio. I didn't bother watching, these half-hearted attempts and half-hearted speeches and, these token, First Nations people being appointed to stand up and say something, and nothing against them. But at the same time, again, I've said this before in other broadcasts that we've done, that, First Nations people, I'm hoping they're going to be smarter than this and take a harder line than they are. Camera opportunities and someone putting a mic in front of your face, or someone pointing you to a position, like, your people have suffered like greatly. Like, you need to draw a hard line and be like, enough is enough. And and stand your ground and stop catering because someone throws you a title or throws you a paycheck or throws you a soundbite for 30 seconds on a news program. That's not enough. And so yeah, I don't co-sign this holiday because it's not doing anything. And this whole thing, and I agree with what Sally's saying, this whole orange shirt thing. Your husband did a great monologue there for Black in the Maritimes, and people need to listen to that and understand that, this whole trendy bandwagon activism is bullshit, right? Your kid wearing an orange shirt for one day but having no fucking clue about what's going on or why. What's the fucking point? You go into Walmart and buying a shirt, you order an orange shirt over Amazon, you buying a shirt from the same lineage of oppressors that put the kids in the residential schools. What kind of sense does that make? You know what I mean? Like, people just aren't thinking, right? They're so busy to throw on the trend and just to say that they were part of the wave. And they're not really understanding how devastating. I don't think non-First Nation parents, especially more importantly, I don't think white parents really understand they don't understand the concept. And we've talked about this before in other podcasts. Like, I need white people to really take a moment and think about that for a fucking second. Someone comes to your house on your property, lies to you or doesn't lie to you, takes your children by fucking force, and you never see them again.
Oh my God.
Like, people need to take a hard pause and think about that for a second. People freak the fuck out when you touch their dog.
No, they're
These are
still
your
doing
children.
it. They're still doing it in the
Right,
guise of social development. Like they're
right,
still
absolutely, absolutely. But the thing is, I think that white people just don't seem to take that pause. They don't pause for a moment and really sit back and let that sink in. Right, and the reason. Right. And when you have a whole race of people and the powers that be that represent this race of people, so I'm going to go ahead and not generalize because not everyone is on that wave. But when you have authority figures in place that look like you and are talking shit, if you're not saying anything out loud to go against it, I'm going to throw you in the same pot. So when you have the oppressor going ahead and, you know, belittling and demeaning and degrading and devaluing a race of people continually, to the point where no one sees them even as human anymore. That's like this problem here in Canada is just expansive.
massive.
And I just feel that, you know, white allies and white people who want to say that they understand, they're woke, they really need to take a moment and just think for a second. If someone came into your home or on your property and took your children by force or lied to you about what they were going to do with your children, and you never saw them again. And when you tried to go find them, because by some circumstance you found out where they were, you were lied to and told that they weren't there. You were harassed, you were beaten, you were thrown in prison. Like no one's thinking about that. And people of color get it because of the hardships that we face. We get it. We know what it's like to be excluded and to be, you know, and to be undervalued and things like that. So we get it. I just don't, you know, this nation is consistently disappointing me. It really is. And I can say that because I'm an American. And America has disappointed me greatly as well. But
you can say that if you're Canadian, it is a disappointment.
It's a disappointment. And people who still want to wave the flag and talk about this country this and this country that and this great country this great. No, motherfuckers, you really need to understand this is not the country that none of us thought it was. And even the hardcore Canadians, veterans, I'm throwing you in there, military, I'm throwing you in there, family of former military veterans, all that. I'm throwing you all in the bucket. If you still want to stand by the fact that this is some great land, some great neutral country, some great outstandingly kind and generous and open, you know, piece of you know, real estate on the globe that welcomes everyone, and you are sadly mistaken, and you are purposely living in a delusion, because the facts are there, the proof is there, the bodies are there. You know, and this whole thing of, well, yeah, I know about it, but that's that wishy-washy shit that I can't stand. Like, no, these are children.
People's
children. And we're still choosing to act like it's not a big deal. So anyway, I'm sorry for the long-winded answer, but my long-winded answer to a short question is that no, I don't co-sign the holiday. I didn't watch anything on TV. I didn't listen to the bullshit on the radio.
Same.
No. And so I will let Natasha, now she's done her snack.
Thank you so much. It wasn't taking that long.
You look like you're really enjoying it. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, just
no, I think that it's great that you went on, and I agree with everything you say, because I did not watch anything, and I'm just so tired of all these displays of, you know, we're woke and we care, and there's a t-shirt for every day. There's a, you know, and now they've added a t-shirt for this, and there's a bullying day t-shirt, and there's a this t-shirt, and I just find it so superficial and more theatrics and more sort of what I really see is happening is, oh, see, we're making everyone wear orange t-shirts. That means we're good now and we care, and see, we're doing something. No, what you're doing is deflecting as usual, which is what you always do. I just see more and more deflection. That's all I see. I'm not seeing anything meaningful being done. What would have been respectful and appropriate after these children's mass graves were discovered was actually taking action immediately to deal with that. There have to be some people who are around today who can be held accountable and should be held accountable by the government of Canada. That is what they should be doing. They should be looking for people who are survivors or children of survivors, and they should be reaching out to them, and they should be doing everything they can to compensate them for this atrocious behavior. But I mean, it still goes on today. That's the problem. It's still going on today. And you still have children who are, First Nations being taken from their families in huge disproportionate numbers. And I asked, I think, a woman about this who was, I think she was a social worker, or she was in something related. And she was like, well, that's because of their addictions problems. They're all, it's for their own good. Their whole, communities are all, completely addicted. There's nobody there who can take care of them. We're doing this for the children. So they have this whole narrative, and I'm thinking, I'm sorry, from what I've heard, statistics, there's probably a good chunk of people who are white who are also addicted to numerous things, or at least have them on a regular basis when their children are around, and nobody's taking their children, or at least not in those numbers. So this is absolutely an attempt to, first of all, to physically wipe out a race, and now, just demoralize them completely and break up their families. And yes, we absolutely get it as minorities and people of color, because you have the same sort of understanding, from our community. Therefore, you don't know how to do this, and you couldn't possibly know how to take care of your children. And we have to be the ones to provide correct parenting. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, seriously? Please, dig yourself out of this delusion that you've, come from, that best about everything, because you really don't. And I'm so tired of all these displays. Do something. Do something meaningful. Stop, doing these. It's just another show. I'm just so tired of these shows. And First Nations people, I mean, it's, I understand that recognition matters to a lot of people, but what you really need when you've been violated in this incredible way, this incredibly horrific way, is reparations. And you also need signs that this very system that continues to perpetuate harmful behavior towards families and children of color and other minorities, this system needs to be dealt with, and you cannot deal with it if you don't agree that yes, it's still a problem. We still have the same mentality. We still think we know better than everybody. We still think we have a right to tell people what to do with their kids. This has not changed. It's still there. It's pervasive in all these institutions, and this needs to be addressed now, today. It should have been done decades ago, but you know what? It should be done right now. Like, I'm really done with this. Why are we waiting now? And why do we need to keep asking nicely? It's just beyond time, really.
This isn't even recognition.
No.
Announcing that you found thousands of dead babies is not recognition. Recognition is identifying it as a crime, treating it as a crime, pulling these cozy ass Catholic, whatever, priests and nuns out of their fucking comfortable retirement homes and shoving them in cold cells, because that is what they deserve. And don't tell me that they're old or that they have Alzheimer's and that would not be fair. They did not care that these children were babies and threw them in a cold environment. So why should we don't have to be better than that. We don't have to be better than that. I did listen a little bit to a few things today on the radio, because I have, I live out of town. My commute to work is long, and I just like to hear discussions. And I turned it on to see, what I will hear. Is it just sugarcoating, or is there going to be someone who's going to call out the bullshit? When I would drive home, there was one woman who says, "Where's the subpoenas? Where's the subpoenas to actually fix this problem, to bring the information and the fact and the actual truth forward? Where's the subpoenas?" What really got me this morning, I was listening on my way after work. I went to my mom's for a bit, and I was listening, and it was Q with Tom Power, and I didn't catch the name of the author, I believe, who's interviewing, who is Indigenous, and it really struck a chord with me. Basically, the author said something along the lines of, I spent my whole life acting like I'm okay. And then one day I realized that I didn't have to anymore, that I have a right to not be okay. And we have to take into consideration that this is an entire generation. And a generations, sorry, these are entire generations of people who are not okay. And we all have a hand in that. Anybody who sits there and doesn't call it out, doesn't criticize our education system, doesn't criticize our government, doesn't vote differently.
Yeah.
Your hands are covered in blood. And you know what? It really strikes a nerve, because I remember seeing George Floyd die. And I know he's not Indigenous, I know. But I remember the days that followed was when I had to come to grips with, when I realized I was no longer okay. And it was at the same time that I realized that my four-year-old is turning 5. And that in 1 year, he's going to be in the same school system that did what it did to me. And there is nothing I can do to protect him. And that was me knowing that I would have my children and I would tuck them in at night and sing songs and read and smell the top of their head and, just completely engulf myself in them. But the thought of these parents, like, it takes a special kind of ignorant to hold your shit together at the thought of something like that. It really does, because you drop your kids off and you kiss them and you tell them, "I'll see you after school." And you take that for granted. Like, we think of the children who suffered, but also think of the parents.
Yeah.
Who suffered.
Exactly.
Like, you take a child away from their family, you take away their soul. Sorry, guys, this just, it strikes a nerve, because that was kind of my breaking point, was realizing I really have no way of protecting my own child. And I cannot imagine how these mothers and fathers felt when the police, this whole lie that the police is designed to protect us, and these police officers stripped these children and brought them to what is supposed to be the sanctuary, the religious, I don't know what, and did what they did to them. Like, how are we as a nation, forget the shame, how are we not in excruciating pain at the thought of this? Because every one of us is a child. And many of us are sisters or brothers, and many of us are mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandchildren and uncles and aunts and cousins. Like, this isn't like death, okay? These children who died, This isn't like they got an illness and you watch them deteriorate and die, or that they got old and you watch them deteriorate or die, or even that they were in a car accident. But they were literally ripped out of their parents' lives and had their souls crushed. I'm not even talking about surviving physically the ordeal, but their souls were crushed. And we want to go around and say that their children are drug addicts. Who brought the friggin' pharmaceuticals into this nation?
Mm-hmm.
So let's be serious here.
They were deliberately, like addictions was something that was deliberately introduced into this population.
It's
Just
always
like it was done with the Chinese people.
with all minorities.
Yes,
All
it's
minorities.
deliberate. It's like, and that's why you have to sort of, the way to deal with it's really hard, because when you're at the receiving end, it's hard to sort of see past all the abuse that is constantly being thrown. But you have to see past the intention. You have to see, okay, so this is what's being done, and I cannot fall for this. You have to just like it's really hard, but you have to see right past these attempts to like introduce addictions into these communities, harass parents, demoralize children. Now it's hard for them to sort of like murder children. So now it's just constant demoralization, trying to make sure they don't succeed at anything.
No, it's not. Drug overdose and or suicide.
Yeah, but that is again constant demoralization.
Murder.
Why do you have these kids committing suicide in the first place? Why are there such astronomical rates of suicide in these communities? Because it's constant day to day demoralization. And it makes your job as a parent like it just keeps going up, because all this put in, because the society keeps trying to crush your kid, and you have to keep building constantly. So it's this has not gone away. This is what I'm saying. I don't see that it's gone away. A good percentage of people are still, still have the same agenda, and it's much harder for them to do things as blatantly as they did back then. But there's a lot of ways to continue keeping different communities down. There's a lot of ways to do it, and if you work together and you have power in certain structures, you can absolutely do it, and they still do.
Yeah, no, I think
You
oh,
have
sorry.
to be past
No.
it. Like,
Sorry, go ahead, Allon.
no, I'm just
No,
saying that's the key. Like you have to be able to see past. I can't hear you.
No, it's okay. Allon, you were saying something.
oh no, I'm just, I really appreciate what you just said, and that's exactly what I just want people to really do, and not just today, but because this is going to be an ongoing issue for many, many years. But people need to put themselves in that position and understand, what, these families, the kids have gone through. And then ask yourself, how would you cope, with these different events happening to you? You obviously would turn to some sort of vice to cope. If society's continuing to shit on you and not listening to you and not believing you and making you think like you're crazy, like you don't know what you're talking about, like you're lying, and then they want to go ahead and slam the door at you at every turn, when it comes to opportunities, work, education, throw in your face the few that do manage to get out, as if, oh yeah, this is the path, this is what all of you should be doing. The typical minority fucking put down package that the white man likes to throw at everybody. So yeah, I just think that's exactly, and something Natasha said earlier was very true too. In the 90s it was the ribbons, in the 2000s it's the t-shirt, right? That's the new thing, right? Everything's got a t-shirt. The 90s everyone had a ribbon, blue, red, pink, white. Some even reuse the colors. Some even they ran out of colors. Some people started fighting over colors. So the t-shirts are the same deal, right? Like, and that to me is just just bandwagon bullshit. Like, if you're not
checking the box. Yeah, it's checking a box.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where if you're not, seriously making a change to change your perspective, your point of view, and you know what, we're at a point now in humanity where you need to be vocal, you need to have strong opinions about where you stand on certain shit. This whole thing of playing the gray area needs to stop too.
Yeah.
Like, you
There is
need
no
to,
gray.
yeah, there is no more gray. Like, we've got cameras, we've got facts, we've got, detailed information. If you truly are not on the side of this bullshit, then you need to voice it and say it. Like playing this game of, oh no, I don't get involved, I don't want to say anything. Like,
Yeah.
By
yeah,
not getting
I
involved,
think,
you are involved.
yeah, very
You're
much so.
involved whether you like it or not.
Yeah,
You
You're
just
and
get to
I'm,
choose
complicit.
which team you're on.
yeah, and
You're
I'm really
complicit.
disappointed.
Silence is complicity. Simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And this country really should have shut down today.
Yeah, it should have.
Stores were still open. The wife and I just went out to DQ. Like,
No, I think people should be.
nothing changed, nothing stopped,
I
nothing.
think
What?
you should be doing protests. You should be outside your MP's, office. You should be saying, we want something done. These people need justice. This is not okay.
But I
Please
mean,
don't wear a
but on that
t-shirt and think,
topic too. I'm really sick of these half-ass politicians in Canada. Like, I don't
We
understand how
keep
Canadians
voting them
vote for
in.
these. I don't
We
understand
keep
how this
voting
shit
them in.
happens. I don't understand how this happens.
Complacent humans.
But no one
What?
stands up for anything. Like,
We're
they
not enough.
literally live in a gray void and pass through by not standing for anything.
You could witness
literally
genocide in
do.
this country and they would do nothing.
They literally
We did
just
witness genocide and they did nothing.
They
But
have
even like
witnessed-
today,
they have
you
witnessed
can
genocide.
witness genocide. You could witness a murder right in front of your face in cold blood and say nothing and do nothing.
But it's crazy. Like politicians here just live in a gray area. They don't want to stand
But so
for
do the
shit.
people.
Yeah, that's true too.
We are entertaining the people.
You're right. You're right.
You know what? The
Represent
problem
people
with
and they're
you,
reflecting the-
the problem with us is you. Really. The problem with us as a nation is you as a person. And I don't mean you specifically looking at each individual here. We all voted. We all put our complaints. Well, maybe not Allon, he's not Canadian yet, but we all say what we say and hope that we make a difference. But the majority just don't care enough. And you know what? I mean, I'm going to put in a plea. Like, I'm going to put in a plea to stop, stop funding our abusers. Stop funding our abusers. Because every t-shirt you wear, every exotic thing that you buy is on the back of someone who lost it and had to lose their blood for you. So like these things like buy local. Yeah, you want an orange shirt? Go find an indigenous, made product instead.
Yep.
Have orange in it. Pin that to your shirt. Make your money count. Make your voice count. Are you just living to be insignificant dust? Are you okay with this? I don't think any of us are. I'm going to bring it down to closing statements, Nat.
Okay. I'll put down my snack. I don't know. I think pretty much I think I agree with everything that we've said. And really, I think I don't know how you would galvanize people to action if they don't feel that pain and they haven't experienced that pain. And I think, people are too used to, and I say people, I say the majority of white people in this country are too used to having the upper hand. They're too used to it. They're too comfortable. And some of them genuinely don't see that they have the upper hand. And some of them know this very well and are determined to keep it at all costs. So that's the reality that we have. And then it comes down to, okay, so this is this dismal reality, and what are we going to do about it? And I keep going back to the same point. We should not allow ourselves to be divided into these groups. You're Indigenous, go over there. You're Black, go over there. Oh, you're a Muslim, go over there. You're this, blah, blah. No, these are all just more deflections to split up a movement, to weaken its strength, because this group of people, the ones who are determined to hold on to what they have, which is unfair and wrong, they're not willing to let it go. They mess around with every system, the justice system, social development, legal systems, every single education, which is horrible, and healthcare, where they murder people through neglect or willful,
sterilize them.
Yes, sterilize them, give them the wrong medication or give them too much medication or whatever. Yes, this happens. It happens all the time, and you don't hear about it because the fifth, I think they call it the fifth estate, the media chooses not to cover these things. So this is an absolute, like, it's like people are living two lives in the country, and nobody's talking about it. And I turn on the TV and they're just talking about cookie cutter bullshit stuff, and this is enough. Like, who wants to continue living this way? And why should we continue to live this way? And the only way is, if you have this, group of people who are not willing to let go control of the system, you really have to, I think we have to sort of follow Quebec and build up parallel systems. I never, thought I would quote Quebec because I think they're crazy. And they kept ranting about how they're a nation. But I'm thinking, you know what? If something is not working for you, then you need to come up with alternatives. And you need to come up with some sort of, no, this is not acceptable to us. We're sick and tired of being treated this way. And it's not one thing. It's not one department. It's every single one. And how is this, allowed to continue? And that's what needs to be done. Instead of allowing ourselves to be sort of lulled by these holidays and t-shirts and all these things, we need to say, no, I'm sorry. What are you doing concretely? I want to see what you're doing in legislation to change things. What are you doing? And I have seen that the only politician I've seen who's calls out anybody is Jagmeet. But I mean, even he has to be really careful because he's also a person of color.
We lost Natasha.
I think so.
Like, you need to be vocal. You need to talk. You need to not shut up. Just don't shut up.
Thank you, Natasha. Allon, what's your closing statement?
I don't think there's anything much more I can say. There's just I'm just disappointed in this country as a whole, and I just I'm really disappointed just this whole year, just the lack of intensity in dealing with extremely relevant and important issues. And I think the fact that things can begin to change and the 180 can start immediately. Politicians want to play the game of like, oh, it takes this, it takes that. Something that I always hated Fidel saying on Black in the Maritimes. Oh, people don't understand how politics works. No, motherfucker. It's very simple how politics works. You're a politician, you have power, you have legislation, you have influence. All you have to do is just say the word and it's done. If Higgs wanted to really do something serious in New Brunswick, all he has to do is say the word and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take a lot to do. And I think that's what angers me is that, it doesn't take a lot to make real change. It doesn't take decades and generations to enact change? Like, why are we being forced to wait for people who aren't going through the shit that we're going through to initiate change that we may never live to see? That's crazy for me, right? If I want to stop something, I can make that decision now and say, okay, I'm going to stop doing it and make steps to stop doing it. Right? If we want to treat indigenous people like equals and fairly and give them their fair share, we can say as a country, we're going to stop the bullshit and we're going to start taking steps to progress to do that. And we're not doing that. Same with this residential school thing. You know what? If we really wanted to do it, we would be knocking in cathedral doors and dragging out priests left, right, and center. You really want to do something to set this in motion to make people believe that you have their best interests at heart? That would be the thing to do. And like Natasha said, I don't care if they're old and sick and die. I don't give a shit. Slap the cuffs on them. Let's go. We'll sort this shit out in court. That would be a real sign towards First Nations that the country was doing something.
Or they could, I know, I'm just going to sort of add something to that. Or if you want to talk about, people will say, oh, that's in the past and let's think about the present. Okay, then how about you end racial profiling? Like, end it. You can do that.
It's that simple.
Oh, but it's complicated.
Oh,
it's always complicated. I know. It's always complicated. There's always all these other moving parts that I don't understand.
People don't understand.
Yeah, I know. But that's my closing thing.
You can do this. Like Trudeau, if he wanted to, every federal
none of them want to.
He can do that.
None of them want to.
They would be if Trudeau wanted to, they'd be breaking ground to provide fresh, clean water tomorrow. Like literally, like this shit is not hard to do.
Oh, but he's fine.
Like people want to act like it's no, it's not. It's really not. And that's what pains me the most is that all of these things we could really start making true progress and be progressive and be better now. And we're just saying,
federal if Trudeau wanted to, he can get it done. He can end racial profiling in all of these departments. If our majority government in the province wants to, they can with provincial departments. They can. It's not like they can do it.
But here's the thing.
But instead, we're doing T-shirts.
We still have a hierarchy. Even you use the term the upper hand. Saying that someone has an upper hand means that everyone else has an arm still left to spare and is somewhere in the game. But the fact is, we've all had our hands amputated. None of us have a hand, not anywhere. There are a few people that have a hand. That's it. There's no upper, lower, mid-class, one category in charge. Anybody else, it's not trickling down in rows here. It's from here, drop. And it may look like some people have it worse than you. Or no, sorry. It may look like some people are more hated and less desired than you, but you're just as much trash to the people up here. You're just not realizing that you're their bitch and helping them cause more pain to those that cause them headache. In my opinion. And with that, the genocide is real.
Mm-hmm.
The genocide was not real. The genocide is real. It is still happening.
Mm-hmm.
For every sterilized mother who will not have the children that she wants, it is happening. For every child who commits suicide or has an overdose, and we refuse to go do inquiries in the community because it's an Indigenous community. We wait for a white girl to commit suicide for us to pay attention. That is genocide. For the culture that is gone, lost, the languages that are no longer spoken, the family lineage that has been eradicated, that is genocide. What we do not have is reconciliation. We don't even have the first step towards it. To all those grieving mothers with empty arms, I don't know what I can do to bear this pain for you, but I'm so sorry.
Mhm.
To all the children who endured and grew up to be broken-hearted adults, we see you. And to the children that did not make it out alive, may your spirits find your families, find your roots, and may you give them strength so that they can stand up for you and you can live on through them.
Amen.
Be kind to each other, support one another, but it's really about damn time that we stand up for each other.